An unforgettable night, when courage outranks power. Picture this. It's a crisp Wednesday night in Toledo, Ohio, just past 11 p.m. The streets are quiet, bathed in the soft glow of streetlights, with only a few late-night workers weaving their way home. The air hums with the stillness of a city winding down. But for Lieutenant Colonel Adrienne Wallace, the night is far from over. She's behind the wheel of her government-issued black SUV, the kind that's understated but carries the weight of authority. The windows are slightly tinted, the interior clean and simple, much like Adrienne herself, a woman who radiates quiet strength. She's humming softly to the rhythm of the tires against the road, her mind drifting to the comfort of home after a long day. Adrienne, a decorated officer with 22 years in the military, had just wrapped up a meeting at a base 2 hours south. Her life is one of service, 2 tours overseas, a Bronze Star, and a career leading soldiers through war zones and disaster relief missions. She's not the type to seek attention, but tonight, attention finds her. And it's not the kind she expects. Enter Sergeant Daniel Mercer, a Toledo police officer parked near Reynolds Road, sipping lukewarm coffee and scrolling through his phone. His shift has been slow, the kind of night that drags on with no calls, no action. Boredom clings to him like the stale air in his cruiser. Then, Adrienne's SUV rolls by, unfamiliar, unassuming. Something about it sparks his interest. He tosses his coffee cup aside, flips on his flashing lights, and pulls out behind her. Adrienne notices the red and blue lights in her rearview mirror. Calm and composed, just as her training has taught her, she eases her SUV to the side of the road. Her hands rest lightly on the wheel, visible, steady. She's not speeding, not swerving, not breaking any rules. But Sergeant Mercer sees things differently. The patrol car door slams shut, and in her mirror, Adrienne spots him approaching. Tall, confident, one hand resting on his holster, the other gripping a flashlight. He doesn't circle to the passenger side, as protocol often suggests. Instead, he strides straight to her window, his boots heavy on the pavement. License and registration. He barks, no greeting, no warmth. His tone is sharp, like he's already decided she's guilty of something. Adrienne rolls her window halfway down, her movements deliberate. "Officer, may I ask why I was stopped?" she says, her voice calm but curious, the kind of question anyone might ask. Mercer doesn't like it. He shines his flashlight directly into her face, the beam harsh against her eyes. "You were drifting between lanes. Didn't signal. Looked like you might have been drinking," he accuses, his words clipped and cold. Adrienne raises an eyebrow, her composure unshaken. "I wasn't," she replies simply, her tone steady as she reaches for her documents in the glove box. As she hands them over, she adds, "This is a government vehicle. I'm a federal employee." Her words are polite but firm, a subtle reminder of who she is. Mercer barely glances at her ID. "Military, huh?" he says with a smirk, his voice dripping with condescension. "Doesn't mean you're above the law." "I never said I was," Adrienne responds, her calm unshaken, though a flicker of frustration stirs inside her. She's faced worse, war zones, life or death decisions, but this feels personal. "Step out of the vehicle," Mercer orders, his voice louder now, edged with impatience. Adrienne blinks, her jaw tightening just slightly. "Excuse me," I said, "step out of the car. I'm doing a sobriety test." "On what grounds?" she asks, her voice still even, her training kicking in. "I've cooperated. I haven't been drinking. I'd like to know the reason." Mercer leans closer, his hand still on his holster. "Now you're refusing a lawful order," he snaps, his tone daring her to push back. Adrienne doesn't flinch. She's been in high-stakes situations before, and she knows escalation when she sees it. Quietly, she reaches for her phone, taps the screen, and starts recording. "Just so we're clear," she says, her voice steady as steel, "this conversation is being recorded." Mercer's eyes flick to the phone, and for the first time, a shadow of hesitation crosses his face. But his pride is louder than his doubt. "Out. Now." he demands, yanking her door open himself. Adrian steps out, standing tall. Not aggressive, but firm. Her presence commanding respect even in civilian clothes. She doesn't yell or resist, but her confidence is unmistakable. Mercer studies her, and for a moment, a small voice in his head whispers, "What am I dealing with here?" But his ego drowns it out. He orders her to walk a straight line under the flickering streetlights, treating her like a common drunk driver on a Saturday night. Adrian complies, her steps precise, her words clear, her composure unshaken. No slurred speech, no stumbling, no hesitation. She's flawless. Still, Mercer scribbles out a ticket for failure to stay in your lane and hands it to her. Adrian takes it without a word, her eyes locking onto his for a brief moment. A look that says more than words ever could. Then she slides back into her SUV and drives away, the ticket crumpled in her hand. But this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. That ticket, that moment, is about to change everything. Let's step into Sergeant Daniel Mercer's shoes for a moment. He's no rookie. 15 years on the Toledo police force have shaped him into a man who thrives on control. He's handled everything from street brawls to car crashes, earning a reputation that makes younger officers snap to attention when he enters a room. And he loves it. To Mercer, the badge isn't just a symbol, it's power, the final word. He doesn't ask questions, he gives orders. Whether it's a defiant teenager or a driver asking too many questions, Mercer doesn't back down. He doesn't apologize. In his world, he's untouchable. Back at the station, he barely mentions the stop with Adrian. He logs the ticket, failure to maintain lane, possible impairment, no arrest, and tosses his body cam into the charger like it's just another night. The footage sits untouched for 2 days. In the break room, he leans back in a chair, joking with Officer Diaz. "Some woman tried to pull rank on me last night," he says with a chuckle, sipping his coffee. "Flashed her government ID like it was supposed to scare me." Diaz frowns, setting down his sandwich. "Wait, she was military?" Mercer shrugs, dismissive. "Said her name was Wallace. Adrian Wallace." Diaz's face changes, his eyes widening. "Lieutenant Colonel Adrian Wallace? She spoke at the academy last year. She's not just military, she's high up. Runs logistics at Fort Wayne. Bronze Star, 2 deployments. She's the real deal." Mercer waves it off, his smirk fading slightly. "Don't care who she is. On the road, I'm the law." But Diaz's words linger, planting a tiny seed of doubt. Still, Mercer doesn't check the footage. He doesn't rethink the ticket. In his mind, it's over. Done. But oh, how wrong he is. Adrian Wallace isn't the type to make a fuss over nothing. She's not dramatic, not confrontational. After 22 years in uniform, 2 tours overseas, and countless close calls, she's learned to pick her battles. But this is different. This isn't just about a ticket or a rude cop. It's about something bigger, something that stirs deep in her soul. She's thinking about every young soldier she's mentored, every civilian she's seen mistreated, every woman, especially every black woman who's been forced to stay quiet just to avoid trouble. And Adrian isn't staying quiet. The next morning, she sits in her office at Fort Wayne, staring at her computer screen. She hasn't slept much. Not from anger, though it's there simmering beneath the surface. It's from replaying the stop in her mind. Mercer's harsh tone, the way his hand hovered near his gun, the way he tried to provoke her. She knows how bad it could have been if she'd lost her cool. Her aide, Sergeant Daniels, knocks gently on the door. "You good, ma'am?" Adrian looks up, her expression steady. "No, but I'm handling it." Daniel steps inside, closing the door. "I saw the video. You want me to call the base lawyer?" "Already done," she says, her voice calm but resolute. He hesitates, shifting his weight. "You sure you want to take this public?" Adrian leans back in her chair, her eyes sharp. "I'm not looking for drama, Daniels. I'm looking for accountability." And she means it. Adrienne's career is built on discipline and integrity. Her rank isn't just a title. She's earned it, commanding convoys in war zones, organizing disaster relief, managing soldiers and supplies across 4 continents. But to Mercer, none of that mattered. To him, she was just another driver who didn't obey fast enough. And that's what stings. Not the ticket, but the ease with which he dismissed her. So she makes calls. To military lawyers. To the Inspector General. She attaches the video, files a complaint, and lets the facts speak for themselves. By the end of the week, Mercer's name is tied to an investigation. The department's lawyers are notified, and Adrian? She keeps working, stays quiet, but behind the scenes, she's ready. Her lawyer warns her the stop wasn't just rude. It might have broken federal rules. If needed, they'll go to court. Adrian doesn't hesitate. She's ready for the fight. Mercer thinks this will blow over. He's wrong. One morning, a plain manila envelope arrives with his name typed on the front. He rips it open in the parking lot, expecting another routine memo. Instead, it's a court summons, a civil rights complaint. Plaintiff, Lieutenant Colonel Adrian Wallace. Charges: unlawful detainment, intimidation, abuse of power. Mercer stares at the paper, his pulse quickening. No way, he mutters, forcing a laugh. No way this holds. But when he walks into the station, the air feels different. His boss, Officer Reading, calls him into the office. The door closes. The blinds are drawn. "We need to talk," Reading says, his voice low. Mercer sits, arms folded. "About what? The woman from the other night?" She's acting like the victim. Reading isn't smiling. "She's not pretending, Dan. Do you even know who she is?" "I don't care who she is," Mercer snaps. "She got stopped, acted rude, and now she's upset I didn't treat her like royalty." Reading leans in, his voice firm. "She's not just anyone. She's a high-ranking officer, a war veteran. Her record is spotless. She has powerful friends, and she's got the whole thing recorded, from her view and yours." Mercer shrugs, defiant. "So what? We just give up and apologize because she has rank?" "No," Reading says, "but we can't act like this is nothing. You're going to court. And if this gets out, which it will, it'll explode." Mercer stays stubborn, his lips pressed tight. For once, he has no quick comeback. The court date is set for 3 weeks later. By then, rumors spread through the department. Quiet talks in the locker room, strange looks in the halls. No one says anything to his face, but Mercer feels the shift. He's not the tough guy anymore. He's vulnerable and everyone can sense it. Meanwhile, Adrian prepares differently. She doesn't shout to the news or beg for sympathy. She meets with her lawyers in private, watching the footage again and again, writing down every detail. Her lawyer, Delaney Price, sits across from her, studying her calm resolve. "Are you sure you want to take this to court?" Price asks. "It's public. It'll stay with you." Adrian nods, her eyes unwavering. "Good. Let it." Price pauses. "Most people would have dropped it. I've ignored too much already," Adrian says, her voice quiet but firm. "This isn't just about me. She's not after money. She's after proof. Something official that says power doesn't give you a free pass to act however you want. Silence isn't the only option. She's fighting for everyone who's ever been disrespected, ignored, or pushed around by someone hiding behind authority." The court date arrives, and Adrian doesn't slip in quietly. She walks into the courthouse in her full military uniform, her badges and medals gleaming, her rank unmistakable. She wants the jury to see her, not just as the woman in the car that night, but as someone who's served her country, followed the rules, and expects fairness in return. The courtroom is packed, not with reporters, not yet, but with officers from the Toledo Police and Fort Wayne military base. Adrienne's fellow soldiers sit quietly, some in uniform, others in formal clothes, alongside regular folks who don't fully grasp the case. To some, it's just a traffic stop gone wrong. To Adrienne, it's the breaking point of something much bigger. Mercer is already seated when she enters. He turns, sees her uniform, and for the first time, his smug expression falters. But the real challenge is yet to come. His lawyer, Charles Breener, whispers something to him. Mercer doesn't react, his eyes fixed on the judge. Adrian is called to the stand. She stands, straightens her collar, and walks forward with the same steady confidence she's carried through war zones. Every eye in the room follows her. Her medals shine, but it's her presence that commands respect. Not just the uniform, but what she's earned. The judge clears his throat. "Colonel Wallace, thank you for your service. You may begin." Delaney Price steps forward, her voice clear. "Lieutenant Colonel, could you describe the night of January 17th? Adrian speaks, her voice steady, her words precise. "I was driving back from a meeting at the Indiana Guard Reserve around 11:15 p.m. when Officer Mercer stopped me. I wasn't swerving. I wasn't drunk. I cooperated and asked normal questions, but he answered with anger. He told me to get out of the car without explaining why. When I asked, he just repeated it louder. That's when I started recording. The room is silent. No whispers, no movement, just the scratch of pens on paper. Then they play the videos. First, Adrian's phone recording, clear and damning. Then Mercer's body cam footage, showing his harsh tone, his threatening stance, his hand near his gun despite her full cooperation. The jury doesn't need to speak. Their faces say it all. Breener, Mercer's lawyer, tries to push back, his tone polite but pointed. "Lieutenant Colonel Wallace, isn't it possible Officer Mercer was just doing his job?" "No," Adrian says, her voice unwavering. "Couldn't he have been worried about safety? I was driving fine. I was sober. I wasn't threatening anyone. There was no danger. And yet you recorded the stop. Why?" "Because experience has taught me that staying quiet doesn't keep you safe," she says, her eyes locking onto his. "I wanted proof of what happened." Breener nods slowly. "So you don't think officers should use their own judgment during stops?" Adrian looks straight at him, her voice calm but piercing. "I think judgment must come with self-control. That badge isn't a license to do whatever you want. It's a duty." Even the judge pauses, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Then it's Mercer's turn. He doesn't testify, just sits as the videos play again. Every harsh word, every glare, every moment he treated her like she didn't matter. The prosecutor presses him. "Sergeant Mercer, why did you order her out of the car?" Mercer tenses. "She seemed suspicious. Did she disobey you?" "She questioned me." "Is that against the law?" Mercer pauses. "No." "Did she yell? Threaten you?" "No." "Then why escalate?" No answer. The prosecutor leans in. "Sergeant Mercer, did you know she was a lieutenant colonel?" "Not then," he says, his voice quieter now. "And if you had?" Mercer's voice drops to a near whisper. "I might have handled it differently." The room goes still. It's not an apology, but it's the truth slipping out. That night, Mercer didn't see a person. He saw someone who didn't obey fast enough. Now, with her rank visible and the court watching, the reality is undeniable. 3 days later, the courthouse is quieter. No uniforms, no extra officers, just Adrian, her lawyer, and a few curious observers. Mercer sits with his attorney, his jaw clenched, trying to keep his face blank. Judge Cynthia Morales looks over the room. In the case of Wallace versus Mercer, the jury finds in favor of the plaintiff. Mercer shifts. Adrian doesn't move. The court rules that Sergeant Mercer violated constitutional rights during an unlawful stop. The judge continues. His actions did not follow department rules or basic professional standards. No one cheers. No one gasps. Just the heavy silence of justice being served. Mercer's lawyer leans in, muttering, "We'll appeal," but even he seems unsure. The judge goes on. No criminal charges will be filed at this time, but the victim is owed $35,000 in compensation. This ruling will remain in the public record forever and will be sent to the Department of Justice and the Toledo Police Department for review and policy changes. Adrian doesn't smile or celebrate. She gives a single nod, not to the judge or the jury, but to herself. She's done what she set out to do. Outside the courthouse, Mercer paces near the steps, his head low as a few local reporters snap photos. He hides his face behind a folder, stays silent, and slips into his car. Inside, Adrian pauses in the hallway, checking her phone. A message from her lawyer, *you won. Case closed. Delaney catches up to her. You could have demanded more money. Adrian shakes her head. It wasn't about the cash. Do you think this will make a difference? Delaney asks. Adrian glances at the glass doors, her voice steady. I'm not sure, but maybe next time he stops someone, he'll hesitate. A week later, Mercer is suspended while the police department reviews the case. Whispers circulate. Some say he'll be reassigned, others that his career is over. Either way, the shield of untouchability he once wore is shattered, and everyone can see it. At Fort Wayne, Adrian returns to her work as if nothing happened. She doesn't seek the spotlight or give interviews. She has missions to run, soldiers to train, duties to fulfill. But within her team, the lesson is clear. You don't have to shout to earn respect. You don't have to fall apart to prove you were hurt. Sometimes, staying calm speaks louder than anger ever could. 2 months later, Adrian stands before a room of new recruits at Fort Wayne. They're young, eager, their uniforms still crisp with newness. She's not here to talk logistics or battle plans. Today, her mission is different. She scans the room, her presence commanding attention. How many of you believe a uniform automatically earns respect? She asks. A few hands rise, some hesitant, some certain. She nods, a small smile breaking through. I get why you'd think that, but here's the truth. Respect isn't given. It's earned. With every action, every choice. She lets the words sink in, her voice warm but firm. The same goes for power. The badge, the rank, the authority, it's not armor. It's a burden. If you can't carry it with honor, you don't deserve it. In the back, a young soldier sits straighter, hanging on her every word. Adrian pauses, her eyes sweeping the room. When an officer stopped me and forgot his duty, I could have screamed, could have frozen, could have ignored it. But I didn't. I recorded it. I reported it. I went to court and told the truth. The room is silent, not from boredom but from understanding. That officer thought his badge made him invincible until he saw my rank, not just on my uniform but in how I stood my ground. That's the difference. That's real leadership. She closes her folder, her voice softening but no less powerful. Lead with honesty, serve with honor, and remember, you don't just wear the uniform. You represent everyone who ever wore it, and everyone who ever will. She steps down, not for applause or praise, but because her point is made. The recruits don't clap. They nod, their eyes bright with a new understanding. Adrienne's story isn't just about one night, one stop, one court case. It's about courage, accountability, and the power of standing firm. It's a reminder that power without responsibility is just a disguise for fear. And when you see injustice, you don't look away. You speak up. You hold firm. Because silence helps the wrongdoers, but courage defends us all. Adrienne's story doesn't end in the courtroom or the classroom. It ripples outward, touching lives she'll never meet. The young soldier in the back of the room carries her words into his career, pausing to think twice before wielding his authority. A civilian who heard about the case on the news feels a spark of courage to speak up the next time they're wronged. And somewhere, another officer hesitates before escalating a routine stop, remembering the name Adrienne Wallace. This is a story of heart, of resilience, of standing tall when the world tries to push you down. It's about the quiet power of doing what's right, not for fame or reward, but because it matters. Adrienne didn't just win a court case. She sparked a conversation, a shift, a hope that accountability can change the way power is wielded. And that, friends, is a story worth telling. A story that reminds us all, when courage meets power, courage always wins.